Welcome to the Young and the Wrestlers, the Pop Culture's WWE podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Ryan Betson, alongside
the superstar with one name, Jem.
Just like Cher or Seal. You listen to us every Friday morning at 8 a.m. on all your podcast services and soon at 9 a.m. on those YouTubes. If you want to join the conversation, head to the Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/thepopculturist. Also a Discord, links in the description below. If you want to show support for Pop Culturist on your body, head to popculturist.com/shop. We can buy shirts, not this one, not like that one, but with our shit on it, inspired by your favorite wrestlers. We are also on a Patreon, patreon.com/popculturist, and Twitch, where we stream the pay-per-view before. We use the power of WWE 2K19 to predict the outcome of said pay-per-view. So this Wednesday, the of March, we'll do the Fastlane one.
Yes.
So normally on this show, we break down Raw, we crack open SmackDown, and we take a deep dive into those pay-per-views. However, this week, it's a little bit different. So thank you to the very kind people at Universal Pictures Australia. We were sent to the Melbourne premiere of Fighting With My Family. The new movie from WWE Studios, written and directed by Stephen Merchant, about the story of Paige, the WWE superstar from her small town of Norwich, England, all the way to heading over to Florida to join NXT and take the main roster and become the youngest ever Divas champion.
Yeah.
So we'll get this out of the way just to make it nice. We want to make sure to give the people their due. So we'll go quickly run through the cast. So, and the title in the titular role of Paige was by a young girl named Florence Pugh, P-U-G-H. It also starred Lena Headey from Game of Thrones fame. That's Cersei if you're playing at home. Nick Frost needs no introduction. Jack Loudon played her brother Zach, who was exceptional in this. We'll get to more in a minute. As well as Vince Vaughn playing the NXT promoter, picker-upper guy, Scout, thank you. And of course, The Rock was there
as
The Rock. But yeah, look, I'm gonna gush and break this movie open in like real hard. I'm gonna like suplex the shit out of it. But I'll let you dive in. I'll let you work it before I get in.
Yeah. Well, I
adjust my pants.
Yeah, I was excited just to be able to go to a premiere. I've never done that before, so that was pretty exciting. So I got there pretty busy, super busy. They had banners set up, people taking photos for you. You probably saw it on the socials. Ryan and I getting our red carpet on. Yeah, they had props to Melbourne City Wrestling. Melbourne City Wrestling was there. They had a ring set up.
It was absolutely nuts. Yeah. Like, we take the escalator up at Hoyt's in Melbourne Central, go around the corner, get our name ticked off the list. I look up and there is just a ring. I'm like, wait, are we going to take photos in the ring? I want to take photos in the ring. Next thing, two women come out and they start beating on each other. I'm like, what the hell? Next thing, two other dudes come out and like
beating on each other.
Because I've never seen independent wrestling, because having only recently fallen back into that wrestling hole, that sounds sexy. I have not dived into the local stuff, and because these guys are particularly based out of Thornbury, where I'm out of Geelong, it's a big old hike. Yeah. But I'm gonna think making that hike.
Yeah, well, I've lived vicariously through my friends. Like, a bunch of my friends are super into the indie scene. They go to a lot of the house shows and stuff like that. One of my friends works them. So I was really excited to be able to get a feel for that myself, like in the flesh. So that was super awesome. Yeah. Like, that was one hell of a way to open up a show. So that was awesome.
As I said on Twitter, that's how you sell a wrestling movie.
Yeah.
With wrestling.
Exactly. Yeah. It was awesome. So yeah. Look, first things first, all I can say is, like, you don't have to be a wrestling fan to see this movie. Straight up, this is a family-friendly, if you've never watched wrestling before, like, there's no backstory in the sense of, like, you don't have to go back into the day of, like, when I used to watch wrestling. You don't have to be up to date now. Like, it is just a feel-good biopic of somebody's life. Like, it was awesome. It's literally a movie for everyone. So I was stoked on that.
Yeah, but speaking of, it's like, jumping off what you've said there, so the idea of being this biopic, it is and it isn't. Like, it's not this whole, it is. It's totally a biopic movie, but what makes this movie work and what makes it approachable for anyone is it's this underdog story about this, young person from middle of nowhere stepping up and becoming something awesome. Yeah. And also the people that make that happen, which I think is a really cool part of it as well. It's also an incredibly strong family movie. There's a lot of being called Fighting With My Family. It's all about this connection of as family of four and where they all go and how they all come together. And
it makes anybody feel good about themselves too. You know, obviously Paige was always pegged as the freak and stuff like that, and it just goes to show that even if you are like a freak or a weirdo, whatever anybody calls you, like none of that matters because you can still do amazing things.
So it does have that nice feel good overall tone.
Definitely.
Saying that there are a lot of emotional dips, you will have a nice roller coaster of emotions. There is a lot of laughs here. Having Stephen Merchant involved, there is some incredibly written jokes. Now,
it's definitely a roller coaster.
For us being Australian and we're having very similar senses of humor to the likes of the British, it's perfect for us. Like the whole room was laughing constantly. Like and then you heard a lot of sniffs and stuff as well, from myself included. But it was just there was laughs everywhere. It was really good. It's just a fantastic film.
I think one of my favorite lines, I think it was "Dick me dead and bury me pregnant." Said a couple of times in the movie. I was like, that's a good one.
But so we'll break down sort of some of the parts of it. So in terms of the story, as I mentioned, it is a little bit similar to what you'll hear in a lot of sports movies, especially about someone coming from nothing and becoming something.
Definitely.
And that's fine because it's one of those stories that is not unanimous is the wrong word. It's ubiquitous with that sort of that type of story, right? The whole idea of starting.
That's why these people have these.
That's
movies
why
made
that
about
works.
them.
So. We'll talk in generals, and then we'll get to a bit spoiler territory a little bit later. So having it follow that similar pattern, that's fine because all movies tend to have that structure of where it's the rise up, the crumble, and the rise up again. And that movie did follow that same beat as well. Not to its detriment because I do think that's part of how it all went down.
I think it was done in a more family-friendly and comedic way. Obviously, a lot of those movies are done in a very serious, very dramatic tone. So
like most biopics, like Ali or stuff like that, where it's very super real, very super intense and heavy. This was that nice amount of
it
light.
definitely shows sort of obviously who Paige is behind the cameras. So that was super awesome to get a.
But that is one of the biggest strengths of this movie is its writing. It's just front to back brilliant. Like the emotional scenes had that right amount of emotional punch, just what was said and how it was delivered. And the humor was spot on the whole way through.
Second. So good.
The performances across the board were solid as well. Is it Florence as Paige was so great.
Good.
She had that right amount of sass and delivery, and so the same thing. She looked very similar to Paige as well. Not identical, but enough for you to get that sense of disbelief. So I see it. Nick Frost, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant as her dad. It's a common knowledge that Nick Frost has that exceptional comedic timing.
He's ridiculous.
So he is just on point with delivery of all those lines. And then at the end, when you're in the credits, you sort of see a real life comparison of who.
You see actual little
Paige's
video footage of
and,
her
holy
family
shit,
that they've clearly used for the movie.
That casting of Nick Frost, not just because it's comedically amazing, but two, he fucking looks like Paige's dad. That was
definitely
really impressive. Having Lena Headey as Paige's mum, mad surprise.
So
I didn't know she was in it.
Yeah. Well, I saw from the posters, obviously, I'm pretty quick to pick up on what a celebrity looks like. So I was a bit I don't know how I feel about this.
And piercings, so she doesn't look.
But for me, I'm really good with facial recognition like that. So I knew she was in it, and I was a bit I don't know how I feel about Cersei playing this badass mom, but she's phenomenal. Yeah. She's a sweet actress. She does it so well.
Yeah, see, having only known her from Game of Thrones, I've only ever seen her in this certain way. So seeing her in this, but really kind of threw a spanner in that works. I'm nah, she's got this. She's good.
Yeah, she was great.
Mad credit to Jack who plays Paige's brother in this.
Zodiac Zack.
He had his own journey in this thing. In this movie. So what I truly loved about this movie, so it is very focused and very centered on Paige, but it's not entirely on Paige. It was about Paige and her brother primarily. They were the two key stories of this. It was the story of what happens when you do get your dreams and you do make that way in the world, or respectfully, what happens if you don't?
Yes.
And then what happens, and how do you recover from that, and what do you do? So seeing that the dichotomy of the two was really good. So it sort of showed this similarity in both outcomes. Yeah. But there is obviously those strong differences as well, which is, I know it's a redundant statement, but so
But obviously, like, it's great because it shows it clearly. You know, Paige's brother was a huge influence in how she got to where she is today, and it's really good to see. I guess she'd obviously have to be involved in the behind the scenes of the movie, so it's really sweet to see her pay, like, I guess, homage to her brother for that, which is super sweet. That shows a true bond between them.
Yeah, and Vince Vaughn. Having Vince Vaughn in there, the tough part about Vince Vaughn, he's come to a point where I can only ever see him be as Vince Vaughn. Yeah. Like, I can see him in 1,000 movies. I'm like, yeah, that's Vince Vaughn. Yeah. That's Vince Vaughn. Oh, that's Vince Vaughn. Yeah. Like, you know, granted, he's not playing the same sort of slacker that he did in, like, Wedding Crashers or Dodgeball, but you're still getting that Vince Vaughn thing. So that's what makes him him. Yeah, but like, there was some,
that's why you understand who it is.
There was also some exceptional moments in there as well when he has to deliver that tough news to Zach that he's not made it to NXT and then he won't be, and even if he's resubmitted his tapes, he won't get in again. Like, because that they didn't sugarcoat that shit. He's like, you didn't get in. You're not getting in. No. Think about do something else, dude. Like, this is not going to happen. So that was great. The movie was shot fine. There's no massive like things like, aside from the set pieces of WrestleMania 30 and a couple other, like when they did Monday Night Raw as well, aside from that, there's no big massive set pieces to really sort of push the cinematography or push anything like that. The movie, you know, it certainly felt directed well. There was nothing jarring, which is good. So it sounds horrible really to say there's nothing exceptional, but there's nothing jarring. So it's that right line. Rather than showing flashy shit, it just focused on the story. And
it's definitely one of those movies I felt like I didn't feel like I was like, oh, this is dragging on forever. Like, it moved, it flowed really well. Like, it moved really well. And by the end of it, I was like, oh, that wasn't that long. And then you're like, oh, it's like, you know, an almost 2-hour movie or whatever.
Yeah. So like, one of the things when it comes to a lot, like, you can really tell that British feel, you know, right? Because like there is a definite tell between British films and American movies. Like, even though it's obviously behind WWE Studios having a big involvement in this, and Universal both being, you know, American studios. And how comedy is delivered and the timing of comedy and where it all fits and the willingness to let things hang. Which America doesn't seem to understand in some of its comedy movies. Yeah. So, like, you know, letting a joke simmer, letting it sit for a little bit and see how it goes, and just little things. So, in particular, there's a scene where Nick Frost's character is sitting with one of the wrestlers that they works the promotion that they run. He was like, hey, I've got Glenn on the line, and Glenn wants to know whether you'll take a bin to the face. He's like, I don't know, let's find out. Gush. And like that, and then there's the next step, it escalates, and as he does that action, the guy's in pain. Nick Frost just picks up the phone and goes, yeah, give me a minute, Glenn. Like, it's that little timing is just solid. Like, in America, it would just hang, and like, or it would hang on the spoilers, he gets hit in the dick with a bowling ball. Like, in American comedy, he would have been like, oh, my dick hurts so bad. Like, rather than just letting the guy simmer there in his pain and then just hold that moment of like, hold on a minute. Yeah, just give me a minute. Like, that is exceptional example of just the power of British comedy. Like, it's sort of that not afraid to over-explain it, right? Yes. Like, we know his dick hurts, but in America, it'd be like, he'll have to point out that his dick hurts.
Yeah, exactly. Not just.
But yeah, no. Overall, look, there are some. We'll jump into a little bit of spoiler territory now, but before I do that, I'll give a quick run in case you want any spoilers. Fighting with My Family, as I said, is a brilliant underdog story, and mixed with that nice feel-good family dynamic. It's a lot of love. You'll laugh your face out. You'll cry your face out. Overall, exceptional movie. Yep, now, saying we are the target demographic here in terms of being wrestling fans and also being suckers for like good movies. And I'm like an emotional wreck at the best time. So like,
I was choking back tears at points.
Oh, I actually had tears at some points. Movie's fantastic. Go check it out. Like,
100%.
It gets the two Kurt Angle thumb heads up. Yes. Like, there's no question that it is. It
gets
a great
two Kurt
film.
Angles for sure.
But yeah, so in terms of some spoilery stuff, so the one thing that I loved is with the whole idea of Zach and Paige was this idea that it's not all about the person that makes it. It's it's also about the people that help get them there.
Yeah.
So with it behind is one of those things. Behind every exceptional person, there's an exceptional person that got them there.
Yeah.
The journeyman, as he was called in this. And like I loved that. Because, you know, most movies that are a biopic that I tend to find will be like, look at this person. Everyone else can suck a dick. Look at these look at them. Look how fucking good they are. So having it sort of been like, look how good they are, but it wouldn't have happened without this person. And like their relationship between it's just.
And there's a point in the movie where I believe, I don't know if we're getting spoilers.
Oh, we're in
yet.
spoilers now.
Yeah. So there's a point in the movie where like their older brother is in jail for the most part of the movie, and he gets released, and obviously Zach's still sort of a bit out of it about not getting taken, and you know, his brother says to him, he's like, you know, Paige wouldn't be there without you. You know, she has one thing that I never had, and that's you.
Yeah, so his brother, who because they're from a wrestling family, he also tried out to be part of WWE, part of NXT. He got rejected, and as a result, kind of spiraled out of control, and then did a bunch of shit. Went to prison.
Put somebody
went
in
for like 8 years or some shit.
Coma and something.
So,
Zach was taking that part.
So they're having that discussion afterwards. You know, he's still down in the dumps, which is, you know, validly, and the way they demonstrated his very clear depressive period was
that was hard. It
was tough to watch, but it was tough to watch in the way of being relatable and not being like, oh, I'm sad. Like, he can tell, like, this is a man whose world has shattered.
Yeah,
like, I know we're not talking about Paige
broken
at this moment, but we're talking about the brother here, but it's very important to mention the brother in the story.
He's a huge part of it.
Yeah, so just sort of have him sort of show that focus, that crumble and that pain, and just God, he did such a good job.
Yeah, phenomenal.
And the little things as well. So when they sort of talk about, you know, like I said, like being the journeyman, the man that can make change without being the one that a million people scream at.
Yeah, exactly.
Because he talks about, you know, how he's helping a blind dude wrestle.
Yeah.
Who then went off and became a legitimate
professional wrestler. Yeah.
Like, so that's fucking huge in terms of a real life story. And
who can do
loved
that?
it. Loved that part. It was so effing good.
Yeah. When they sort of, I guess it's like the knock of sense into Zach. I guess that moment where they talk him through like how much he has done and how so many people wouldn't be where they are without him. Yeah. It's a really powerful moment, especially for those who feel, you know, like maybe they're not the one in the spotlight, but they're the one helping the one in the spotlight.
Yeah. So now I'm not just going to say this because you're a girl, but I generally ask because I know you want to be you had that wrestling drive.
Yeah. Oh God, as a kid, definitely.
So having watched this movie and sort of lived that life of wanting to be a female wrestler and watching the likes of Paige and, you know, even going back like Trish Stratus and Lita and like because they were your idols when you were growing up. So what was it like watching that story that you could so heavily relate to?
I think it was coming from like, the whole thing of not actually really being that interested in wrestling as a young girl, but being introduced to it and like just sort of being forced into falling in love with it. It's really weird, but like, as a kid, I was never really that into it. I love my Barbies and stuff like that. And then sort of as I got a little bit older, Dad and my brother were watching it all the time. They were wrestling, and then they'd get me into wrestling, and then I just, you know, it spiraled exactly like Paige's did. And I fell in love with it. And, you know, all through high school, like we had like our friends had little wrestling groups, and we'd be like lunch breaks suplexing each other over garbage bins and stuff like that. Like, so yeah, it's definitely like it really is every little girl's like every little wrestling fan's like dream story as a little girl. You're just like, that's what I want to do. I want to, you know, go and wrestle with my friends and have fun with it, and then suddenly be told, hey, come to the tryouts, and then, you know, next minute you're a champion. Like literally overnight she became a champion in the WWE. Like it happened within one night. So it's definitely that whole like every wrestling girl fan's dream of. For sure. Yeah,
like, but yeah, so like, did you feel that connection with the film?
Definitely. I think it's weird. I think I felt a connection not just on the sense of like circling around Paige. I think demographically, like with the whole family thing and having a bit of a loose cannon for a brother and stuff like that, and watching all that sort of stuff go down, I think it was relatable to me in that way as well. But solely, I definitely felt like, you know, Paige was who I wanted to be when I was a kid. Like she is. Her transition is exactly how I wanted my life to play out as a kid. That's how you fantasize it all. It's literally like a fantasy, and she's living out a fantasy, and that's how every little wrestling kid's fantasizes. So yeah, it's definitely super relatable. Like, even as a dude, you're just like, oh, how cool would it be if I was like that? Like, so I reckon it's definitely like any little wrestling fan's fantasy.
Yeah, no, like, as it not being a woman, I can't really identify in that aspect. But there are a lot of great story moments that really encapsulated kind of what Paige was doing, like with being that anti diva, as she was referred to. So sort of being that outcast, being the outsider, not having, a lot of friends, sort of being on that outer circle. And that's something that many men, boys and girls can relate to. And I think having a movie focused around her particular is really important. I think really powerful as well.
Especially I was going to say, coming from like obviously the background that I do in like the early 90s to sort of 2000s, sort of wrestling, it was so heavily focused on the model looking girls with the big chest and the skimpy outfits and the long legs, and we never really had a Paige figure back in the day. I mean, the closest we got was Chyna, and Chyna was sort of classed with the males anyway, because of how badass and like
just huge
she was just jacked. So we never really had that back then. I think now, as a little freak weirdo, like I was a little scene kid, I was a little goth kid, seeing somebody like, the freak like Paige, as she's referred to in the movie multiple times, I wish I had that figure when I was younger. And it's such a good model to have. Like she's the anti-diva, it's such a good role model to have in the WWE, because any little girl that doesn't fit that perfect blonde hair, big boobs demographic, they've got a place too. It's a place for them to belong. So I do wish I had that back in the day, because for me it wasn't like that at all. The closest I got was like leader, maybe.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So like having sort of come interesting over the last 6 months or so, and like having small tastes of back in the day, obviously before I hit puberty, so it was really all the girls didn't really do shit for me when I was like 7. But now looking back at that divas movement, I'm like, what the fuck is this?
And a lot
because right now we're spoiled. Like
we are
the likes of
spoiled.
Becky Lynch, Ronda Rousey, like
and
Charlotte Flair.
They wouldn't be here without Paige. Let's be honest.
And that's kind of what me looking at this movie and what it's telling this huge knowing that I'm watching WWE right now at the actual cusp, if not peak, or the precipice of the women's revolution in WWE. It couldn't have come out at a better time. Yeah. And it's telling such an important story.
Yeah.
I love it for that reason.
And like there is a scene in there where obviously there's a point where Paige doesn't feel like she fits in, and she goes and like tans herself, some bleaches her hair,
trying to fit what the other
trying
girls
to fit that demographic of those girls. And like, as somebody who would never do that, like I was never that kind of girl that to be and try and fit in with the girls. Like it broke my heart.
Yeah,
too.
Me too.
Yeah. So it was like it was interesting to see how she tried to fit that demographic, and then realized that like she was told by The Rock at one point, don't worry about being somebody else. Be you. Be the first you. Yeah.
So like we'll get step away from that for a get into some of the other little nitty and gritty nerdy nerdy things. So there were some moments that I thought were initial continuity errors. Like WrestleMania 30. They're talking about Twitter. The Rock doing movies. Like that doesn't seem right. But I'm an old prick, and I forget that WrestleMania 30 was 5 years ago.
Yes, it was.
So that makes 20. 20 what year is it now? It's 2014.
Yeah.
I thought 5 years ago was like 2004. So I'm like, oh man, no, Twitter was really prominent 5 years ago, because I was still at university at 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, I just didn't tell as much how I know about time. I was like, that doesn't seem right. No, that's totally right.
Yeah.
But in terms of little nitty and gritty details that you'll pick up, so first of all, I love the way they shot WrestleMania 30. It was very, very cool.
Yeah.
Very great. I loved how they shot WWE Raw.
Yes.
So Monday Night Raw the next night in the movie. They used all the old logos, those things that fit that time window.
Yeah.
On top of that, small detail, like the way Raw is shot is very different to how a movie shot, and they use the same style of filming, including like the hard zooms, that sort of stuff, and even a slight change of frame rate too, which is very noticeable. So because with all movies being filmed at 24 frames per second, TV shows are filmed at a higher frame. So like it's a minor notice,
but it is definitely,
like,
now that you're mentioning it, I'm like it
feels like TV.
Yeah, I'm
like the way it was shot, it felt like TV.
Yeah, it was really well done.
Just in terms of some costume design, during the NXT, they had they weren't actually based on these characters, but there was a woman that was dressed like Charlotte Flair. There was a woman that was dressed like Carmella. During the NXT the SmackDown NXT tryout in London, there was a guy that looks like the current NXT UK champion Pete Dunne, the bruiserweight. I was like, are they going to mention that's Pete Dunne?
Yeah.
But they didn't. I was like, fuck, because that'd been really, really cool.
Yeah.
Like, granted, I appreciate they weren't like Pete Dunne.
Yeah.
Like like the standard American Pete Dunne.
Yeah.
You know. Like they could have done that. They could have tried to slam as many people as they could, but they didn't. There was a great bit with the Big Show and Sheamus.
Yeah.
At at SmackDown, WrestleMania. We see the Miz pop up. You know, Miz, a staple of WWE studio films, big star of the Marine.
One thing I did love, I will give huge props to Zelina Vega's. Zelina Vega played AJ Lee.
Yep.
She did a phenomenal job of replicating that. Zelina Vega as AJ Lee was awesome because she fits the height requirements, the hair requirements. Like, obviously they're a little bit different in face and ethnicity, but she just played that like real sassy, like real, like she just did it perfectly. So props to Zelina Vega, and that was good to see. Obviously, a current roster playing a former superstar.
Yeah, so it was nice to sort of have her on there and be that part. Because obviously, they couldn't really get AJ Lee to come in, but it was that right amount. So although the way it played out in the movie isn't exactly how it played out in the because I'd watched it just recently.
I was gonna say it'd be like copyright.
Paige sort of not even that. So how Paige came in, she was very confident and cocky, and like there was none of that hesitance that they showed her having. She didn't do the big feel good spiel after she won. She pretty much was ecstatic, grabbed the belt and fucked off. But in terms of what took place, it was like the final moments of that match, which include AJ Lee's Black Widow, then followed by the Paige turner to get the win. That's exactly what happened. So seeing that, I'm like, oh, that little detail was just brilliant.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
But yeah, I could gush about this movie forever. But
yeah, it was definitely a phenomenal movie. And like I said, it's not just for wrestling fans. Like, if you're a wrestling fan, you will gush the absolute shit out of it.
But if you're one of those real, like, hardcore, nitpicky wrestling fans, you'd be like, that's not how NXT works. Yeah, it's very unlikely that Paige would have hung out with The Rock in a corporate box at the WrestleMania 30. She wouldn't have found out that she's going to be on Raw the night before. Fuck off, all right? Enjoy it. Just enjoy it.
Just enjoy it.
Because like, if you kind of take that step away a little bit, because it's not a biopic in the truest sense. It is that, sort of that watered down PG version of it. You're just going to have a good time. Yeah,
it is definitely a feel good everybody movie. Yeah. Because like I said, you don't have to be ridiculously heavily involved into the WWE to get into it.
Well, this is going to be a long ass review.
Yeah.
But anyways, as I said, my final thoughts. Go watch this movie. It comes out on the 21st of March. All the cinemas.
I'll be seeing it again.
I'm seeing it again. I'm going to tell my wife, because I came home and she's like, how's the movie? I'm like, we're going to see it again.
Yeah, I was exactly the same.
And for me as well, so...
I'll take your wife too.
Yeah, for those that don't know, I work within youth services on my day job. And part of that, there are a lot of girls in there that do have that sense of not fitting in and being an outcast. So I want to bring that movie in and show them, because I think it's just a nice, powerful message to the women that I work with.
Yeah, just be you.
Yeah, and
don't try and be anyone else.
Because that's the big thing that we do. Like for us, it's about finding your tribe. Yeah. Rather than fitting in somewhere else. Like, find the people that like you, respect you, understand you. Mm-hmm. You mean like people that can, without you having to change your mold to whatever you want to do, right? So for that reason, I think this movie is going to be absolutely perfect, and I can't wait the day I can bring it in and go, let's watch this. Yeah. Because I get to watch wrestling at work, so it's beautiful.
It's awesome. It's such a good movie.
That was our review of Fighting With My Family. Once again, big thank you to Universal Pictures for sending us to the Melbourne premiere. We do really, really appreciate it. It was great, because I did send them a message a little while ago saying like, hey, I know the movie's coming out soon. Like, this is what we do. The Young and the Restless, blah, 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 blah. And I got the response from the PR rep, who's absolutely lovely. She's a beautiful person. In her willingness to deal with us. She's like, that name is great. What do you need?
Yeah, I love it. So good.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
So big thank you to
huge
those
thank
guys
you.
and girls over there.
Big old 2-cat angles.
But yeah, anyway, that, as I said, was our review. This was Young and the Wrestlers, the Pop Culture WWE podcast, every Friday morning at 8 a.m. on podcast services, 9 a.m. on those YouTubes very, very soon. If you want to join that conversation and let us know what you thought of Fighting With My Family when you eventually see it, head over to the Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/thepopculturist, as well as the Discord link in the description below. If you want to support Pop Culturist, head over to popculturist.com/shop. You can buy shirts of assorted shit with our logos on it. Mm-hmm. We also patreon.com/thepopculturist. As I burp. It's still stuck there.
No. Youch.
Until the next one, I'm Ryan Betson.
And I'm Jem.